tour, we had local officials and folks and survivors line out what we can do for additional support and what President Trump can do to bring some relief here in North Carolina. These resources will help residents continue down the path of recovery, to not being able to completely restore what they have lost, but to do what we can to help the local officials, the state, and the federal government coming in to support, to help get their lives back together so that they can continue to thrive and live as America strong. I'd like to thank the first responders that are throughout North Carolina. They've done incredible work over the last several months. It's been so powerful to see. For those of you who don't know, I was in Western North Carolina months ago, right after this event occurred, and also in November. And I want to thank them for what they've done, not just in this area, but throughout North Carolina and in the western part of the state that was so devastated as well. Those first responders have been on the ground responding and helping, and they've never left, which I think is incredibly powerful, because we all know that they're leaving time with their own families and they're leaving time with their own businesses. Many of them are volunteers. For those of you who don't know, in November was when I joined the Reverend Franklin Graham on an airlift mission that was supported by Samaritan's Purse. It also, our purpose that day was to deliver winter clothing to so many folks that were struggling to keep warm with the winter months that were coming. Partnered with the company of Kuyu and came in and delivered those winter clothes to folks that were in need. Heard their stories, and then also went back and relayed those to President Trump, and he has since visited the area as well. Today I had a chance to witness firsthand just the resiliency of this community and the resiliency of people in this state. It's been powerful. They're irreplaceable family memories and photos and items that just are not going to ever be able to be replaced. We can't go back and help them with that, but there are so many things we can continue to do. This is a reflection of America Strong, and I'm proud to be with them today. Hurricane Helene was one of the worst natural disasters that this country has ever experienced. Over 100 people lost their lives. We saw over 73,000 homes destroyed. The previous administration failed in many areas, and we're going to learn from that and do better. The city of Asheville went for almost 2 months without water, and FEMA failed to answer nearly half of the calls from people that were asking for assistance. Folks were talking, and there is some whistleblower accusations that were going to be addressed about political targeting, and we're going to ensure that that does not happen in the FEMA of the future. FEMA also did not respond to folks who were kicked out of temporary housing. Thousands of people were impacted by that, and we're ensuring that that will not happen, especially in the tough weather conditions that we saw in those below freezing temperatures those folks experienced. Some of those actions were unacceptable, and I'm here today to talk with all of you about what we can do to do better and ensure that there's accountability, that that won't happen again. The disaster after the disaster ended when President Trump came in and visited this community, and in less than 20 days secured over $54 million for families in need and registered 2,600 families that needed assistance and hadn't gotten that type of help to get signed up for the programs that we have. In the past 5 days, we've decreased the number of open cases by almost 80%. President Trump is ensuring that communities aren't forgotten, and he launched the first major initiative to connect farmers with recovery assistance as well. Today I had the chance to spend some time with Mark, who's a micro farmer in this area, and to talk about some of the FEMA programs that he's been able to utilize that have been incredibly helpful. And I want to be clear, I heard from people today that had good stories and positive testimonies of what FEMA has done. There were some folks that got their checks promptly, had the assistance that they needed, and we appreciate that. But we also know that isn't true for everybody. And our goal needs to be that it is true for everybody. And one of the things that we can do better as an agency and as a federal government is education ahead of natural disasters for folks on what FEMA is, what our role is, what we do, and how the programs are utilized so that when the natural disaster comes, that education process has already been done and we can immediately get to work. I want to remind everyone that people to respond in these crises best is the local officials. They know their communities. They know the help that is necessary. The state then comes in and supports and helps add resources to deploy efforts in the middle of that crisis, and the federal government comes in to mitigate at the end and to provide resources and financial assistance throughout it. And that structure is in place that we coordinate through our emergency management directors at the county level, which are right in touch with the families that are impacting. We're ensuring that people who need a place to stay are using the transitional sheltering assistance program that's available to those in North Carolina, and to speed up reconstruction of key roads and bridges and infrastructure. We've also put in place an executive order by the president to remove all of the red tape and the permits that would be required that previously slowed this down. This community will be able to rebuild homes and get their roads and their businesses back online faster now because of that bureaucratic red tape being gone. President Trump also has promised to accelerate a timeline to clear your waterways. We had the chance to see some of the waterways being cleared today with the partnership of the Army Corps of Engineers. In less than a week, this team has quickly gone to work in Swannanoa, and we've seen incredible results on what they've been able to do without having to wait to fill out the right paperwork and wait for the timeframes of meetings to happen to approve that process. From my experience responding to natural disasters, I had over 12 federal FEMA natural disasters during my time as governor in South Dakota in the 6 years I served in that place, in that leadership role. It was a different experience than the one I'm in now, but I think it's all experience that will help me give some guidance to FEMA to respond better. Knowing that a state can respond with local communities, and FEMA needs to be nimble and get them answers as quickly as possible and get them the resources so they can help people get through those tough situations. FEMA can often be slow and confusing and a lot of paperwork. I heard that over and over and over again today, and we're going to fix that. We're going to fix that and make sure that people that don't have family, that don't have nonprofits there to answer their questions, that FEMA is easily accessible and that they don't have to worry about trying to figure out the confusing paperwork to get the help that they need. I'll promise you one thing. President Trump has committed, and I'm committed with him, to bringing FEMA into the 21st century, to becoming a people's agency, and he has set up a task force that will go forward and address how we can better improve FEMA. Perhaps it is going to be eliminating a lot of what FEMA is at the federal level and giving the authority, the dollars, and the money to the states so that they can deploy that. This task force will be looking at all those opportunities to make sure that those that are closest to these communities have the opportunity to make the decisions in how they respond. To the residents of Asheville and to Swannanoa, thank you for letting me be with you today. Thank you for telling your stories and your testimonies. I'm encouraging all of them to write them down, because this will be an event that their kids and grandkids will want to know what their thoughts were, how they felt when this happened, and how this community rallied. What happened in North Carolina